Hello everyone internet and thanks for tuning in. I'm RyuKiva from RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I'm Dragon Zeron of the Tokusatsu Media Center.
Ultraman Z, Alpha Edge.
That!
Right, so this is it. This is like the very first Toku talk of Ultraman. How are you feeling, Zeron?
I'm pretty happy. I've been telling you to get into the show for years now. And
I will say that I have been into the show. So, alright, so before we start talking about Ultraman Z, the current series that's currently airing, let's give, what we know about Ultraman prior. So, I'm going to say that my first series was Ultra 7X, which was a TV Nihon sub that they did years and years ago. And that was my first exposure to the series, and I absolutely loved that series. And then it's like I immediately followed it up with Mega Monster Battle, which was done by, like a HK style sub, they call it. And that actually put me off Ultraman for so many years. And then when I became a member of the TV Nihon staff, that was when I started looking at Orb and Jeed and... I know I worked on a few of those subs with TV Nihon.
Rube and Tiger?
That includes Rube as well. Tiger, no. All the ones in between I haven't worked on, or nor have I seen. I mean, again, when I was staff at TV Nihon, I did get to see, various, I did work on several of the movies. I couldn't remember some of the specials, but... I know we did the first few episodes of Rube, and then they kicked me out. So, and even then they were massively behind on Rube. But
well, they never did. I think the reason why they were so behind was because they were getting licensed and stuff.
I have no idea. No. This was years before. I mean, obviously, if we're going to talk about what's the name of the company?
Tsuburaya.
Right, Tsuburaya. So they obviously the year just gone. They announced, we are going to sub every series from 1964 to present day.
1966.
64 is Ultra Q, if I'm not mistaken.
No, 65 or
maybe,
late
right.
65, early
60s, in the 60s. So basically from Ultra Q right to present day, they are planning on subbing everything. I mean, their YouTube channel is on fleek. They have got it all going on. And that's something that you've been pushing me to do. And to be fair, having been off put by Mega Monster Battle, I never could find Neo Mega Monster Battle. I mean, I heard a lot of good things about Ginga, which I still haven't watched. I mean, Mebius is on my to watch list, but I still haven't watched it. But you're come on, let's do Ultraman for the channel. So I have, a few days, I have binged Ultraman Z. I am up to date, and we are going to be talking about that today. Tell us about your Ultraman knowledge and stuff.
Okay, so basically, I've been watching Ultraman for the last 6 or 7 years now. I started around the time Ginga. Constantly from 2015 to around 2017. Stuff happened in 2017. I stopped watching. I had never seen Rube or Taiga, but I did start watching Ultraman Z because it did actually interest me. And they got Masaki Endo singing the opening theme, so, it's going to be a good time.
We will talk... Alright, I guess we could talk about it now. When it comes to Ultraman themes, I'm only really... Even though I've seen... Because Mega Monster Battle had a really rubbish theme, but Ultra 7X was... I can't remember if it was the opening. I think it was the ending theme. Was done by Pay Money to My Pain, which are a really good group in Japan, and they did the song's called Another Day Comes, which is an amazing track. And so, having worked on Rube, for fan subs, I will be honest, I barely remember it. But then, the music in general is always generally okay. But you putting me on to Z. Both their opening and ENs are amazing. I absolutely love that. And the BGM is also pretty decent as well.
The ending theme, I'm not a big fan of it. It just feels very repetitive if you listen to the full version.
To be fair, when it comes to full versions of Toku themes, they do tend to get repetitive or they're either repetitive or bizarre. There's very one that's got 3 good verses that like just make you go wow each time. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Ultraman Z's opening theme though, probably the best we had since like Orb, because I don't remember Rube or Taiga having a good like opening and ending, you know. And Orb was done by Ichiro Mizuki, and that was his first ever opening theme song he ever did.
I mean, again, Orb was. I mean, this is kind of the real shocker. Like, I did work on Orb for TV and Hon fan subs, and I can't I remember the story, but I don't remember anything like the theme or anything. But again, many years ago that I worked on them, and even though I've seen them, I barely remember anything about it. I mean, even when it came to Rube, I remember some of the beginning details with us about it. So I'm going to say, let's start talking about Zet, the show. Like, we've got 9 episodes that have currently aired. I believe episode 10 must be airing this weekend, right?
Yeah. Every Friday, I think. So it should be coming out later tonight or something.
Right, well, bearing in mind, I mean, this is it, because, like, I'm recording this now my Friday night, and it's going to be coming out my Saturday morning, so... Yeah, so if episode 10's out, so be it, but we are doing episodes 1 to 9 today. So, episode 1, I mean, so I'm just going to kick it off with a description that I've written down. So there's so much to love here, even though I felt the CGI was a nice level of both detailed and minimal. The strength is definitely the live action and the model and fight scenes.
Oh my, yeah, it's like the best I've seen in a long time. Like, no joke.
I mean, you feel that, like, I'll probably say, like, more, yeah, like, maybe for their first episode, I like how they've not overdone it. Like, I'll still say, like, you know, things, I mean, but, you know, you've got your CGI, but then things like the crumbling buildings, I mean, this is something that the Toei 2 don't really do. Like, you don't really see it that.
Not anymore, at least.
It's very brief, I would say, but then... I would say at least because when you look at the opening scene for episode 1, you've got the kaiju who's like just a little shorter than the buildings. And, you know, the one thing I'm really feeling, like, you know, I mean, maybe across 9 episodes, they seem to have a lack of continuity in the size of the, you know, both the kaiju and the robots that we've got in this series, because... Like, I mean, again, you look at the opening episode, like where the kaiju is shorter than the buildings. That's something I've always felt could be done, because like you look at, you know, any Toku from the 60s to present, mostly present day, they're normally massive kaiju that like make skyscrapers like barely above knee level,
crumble to the ground.
Whereas like this opening scene, you've literally got the buildings that are taller than the kaiju, and the kaiju might be about 20, 30, you know, not even 30 feet, like maybe 20 feet, but then typically, I mean, again, because normally Ultraman publish the size of their monsters, the size of their kaiju. You know, I felt that, you know, this was like actually quite unique to us and something that I would have, you know, craved for years ago. Like, why do the kaiju have to be like so tall compared to the skyscrapers? But again, being inconsistent.
Well, I think it's because Ultraman could change its size and stuff to match the kaiju that's attacking.
But this is it. But like, I mean, where I might not be, maybe I'm not as versed in Ultraman as I should be, and bearing in mind I'm massively versed on the Toei 2. Like, I will still say, like, you know, there's a robot that we are introduced to called Sevenga, which. Again, I'm not too sure if
I think it's
been used in Ultraman lore before. But I'm just like, oh, so they've kicked off with a robot, you know, like they call it something like the anti-monster robot or something they call it.
Yeah, anti-monster robot Sevenga.
Anyway.
Sevenga.
So, like, yeah, other points, I'm definitely going to kick it off with the 2 female leads in the show. Yuko and Yuka. Both of them are absolutely hot, but I'll probably talk about their characters a little bit more as we go. I mean, we get like a good introduction to the pair of them as well as the storage team that we have.
Could I talk a little bit about the storage team?
Go for it.
Okay, so Yuka's like the nerdy chick. She's always like adding on to like the technology storage has and stuff. And she's often helping the team increase their weapons so they could take down kaiju. Then we have Haruki, which I think he's like the newest team member, and that's pretty common in these types of things.
Yeah, he's pretty much the rookie guy, admittedly, but and this. All right, carry on.
And then we got Yuka, who I think is like the tactical person.
She's very much a tomboy.
Yep, and she likes older men, which I think she might be interested in you.
Right, go on. Cheeky son, right, go on.
But I haven't really seen that much of her. I do hope we get to see more of her.
I disagree. Considering we're only talking about episode 1, we got a good intro to everyone. I mean, I do that we do. I mean, there's specifically episode 8, which we'll get onto, which I felt was a fan service episode. But also, and then what's the name of the captain?
Well, I knew him as Juggler. I don't know.
Juggler, no, yeah, right. So, I mean, the one thing that I'll say is, like, where I'm pretty clueless about Ultraman, despite what I've seen prior, the one thing that they don't really establish until you see the commercials later on is that this is, like, a 10th anniversary for Zero. And, so we do see this alternative form of the captain, but for first episode, Captain Juggler, he kind of sets himself up as like sort of real gung-ho team member. But then we've got
and he's actually a good guy.
We'll get onto his actual deeper character later. But then we've got there's one guy that I recognise. He's he's not the team captain. He's like the president of storage. He's like a short...
And he's played by the wizard guy.
I've seen him. I saw him. I recognised him. So he's in this. And so just kind of moving on from talking about the character straight up. When it comes to the story of episode 1, I felt that it was very abstract. The abstract story, the way that the comedy's executed on this. I mean, the hangar scene right up to the afterlife scene that we get in this. It just felt like there was a lack of emotion to me personally. I'll say a lack of emotion from the main characters. But the one thing that I got from, especially episode 1, is the way that the extras, like the civilians, run away screaming their asses off when they're kaiju, which is something I've not seen since Bima Satra Garuda, which is actually the Indonesian Toku. Which again gets a lot of inspiration from all the main Toku from Japan.
I thought I've seen them do it during Sentai as well, where they run away from the camera.
This is it. You do see it, but it's normally in Toei and in Sentai and Rider. It's normally just like a couple of seconds. It's normally just them running from one side of the screen to the other, looking behind their shoulder. Whereas what I'm talking about is sort of they're absolutely petrified. You see them waving their screaming, and the kaiju's behind them, thumping its feet and whatnot. So
I would love to be one of those types of people that run.
I'd love to be part of it in general, but what are you gonna do? I mean, I'll still say as well, the space fight that they included in episode 1 felt random. And we get a couple more dotted around through the 9 episodes, but I'll still say a lot of the key moments, when when the kaiju's defeated, it kind of felt even though you see them fighting, it's when it comes to the final blow, the final hisatsu, I almost felt you blink and you miss it kind of thing. And then again, I don't know how strongly it's connected to Zero. But then we've got this henshin device called the Z-Riser, which I don't know if they used that in Zero or something, but to me...
No, they didn't. It is a completely new device.
But either way, it was almost like they were ripping off Kamen Rider O's. I mean, not just the medals, but the way the medals are scanned across the henshin handle thing.
Well, Bandai now have the say in the toys and stuff, because, they only started doing the toy thing when they brought them out in 2010. So
sure. I mean, I'll say I wasn't too sure about Sevenga, and the ending of episode 1 was absolutely nuts because we do get a peek at this psychotic villain. I mean,
But the thing is,
just to wrap up my part of episode 1, I'll still say the main flaw is them having this rookie guy being Ultraman Z. And not
And
on the field as well. So like he's not just in a training room training. He's on the field actually making a difference. Then he's collapsing into buildings. I mean, it makes great comedy. And and it's Toku, so it's not going to be completely lifelike, realistic. But it just kind of still subtracts from the realism, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like we got to see a little bit of like stuff that most heroes do, which I don't think we have had that in a while for Ultraman. You know what I mean? Where they actually care about other things, But I haven't watched Tiger or Room, or nor did I finish G. So
fair enough. I mean, those are ones that again we've already covered that. So moving on to episode 2. I felt that there was more abstract script here with the main heroine with this, again, you mentioned it earlier, this bizarre fetish for older guys, which, like, obviously I was like, all right, I am the older Toku fan, so hello, but I also, like, I'm kind of like, it's almost weird because, like, as, this fetish progresses, even in the episode alone, and then it's like, Zeto-sama, it's like the way she gets horny over Ultraman almost makes me sort of, I'm like, dude, I'm watching Toku right now, not the time to be thinking about that kind of thing. But still, I'll still say I saw the lessons that episode 2 was teaching, and it made sense, but it just seemed so brief. So, like, we get this kind of resolution at the end, and I do kind of feel like, I don't know if they use the same kaijus over and over again throughout the years. I mean, at least Kamen Rider tries to recycle a look by making something a little bit more original. But I'll still say, like, it almost feels like Ultraman, even with Z specifically, they don't seem to be making too much of an effort in how they recycle. And, I'll still say...
Well, Ultraman's known for recycling their stuff.
Well, there's recycling like Kamen Rider does it, like they'll paint it a different colour or they'll use half of one and half of the other. But with this, it just felt like, they're using exactly the same as is. But, I'll still...
Yeah, I know.
Previous ending, they really lacked... Sorry, I'm just going down. They really lacked going into the background of anything that that this villain is supposed to be.
I feel like we don't really know that much about like the villain, like the guy, like because he got taken over by like
he was possessed at the end of episode 1. And again, like even going on, we don't, it's like there's so, I mean, it's always good to like not have everything explained, but it's just so vague at the same time. So there's got to be a balance that they have yet.
Yeah.
So,
but we are introduced to the Devil Splinters, and they are like considered the main villain.
Yeah, because this comes from because I remember this when I was working on Orb. Belial, I think the.
Yep. Belial is the Ultraman.
Is Jeed's father, I believe.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So moving on to episode 3, like I felt that this was the episode. So this is the episode introducing Beta Smash. Which, despite being an episode that introduced this very powerful medal inspired by one of the, some of the, including the second Ultraman, i.e. Ultraman. It just it felt like a filler episode, despite the fact that it was introducing some core medals.
Yeah.
Talking about O's. The intro seemed to give details that weren't really established prior, so that was just a genuine opinion from me. And even though I like comedy in Toku, like, especially Ryu Soldier had me in fits of laughter. But I'd say episode 3 just felt like, Ultraman, this is a parody of everything. It didn't feel like doing comedy. It felt like they were just parodying them.
Wasn't episode 3 the one with the Americans and stuff?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a reference to Mazinger Z in there. I was like, yo, that's Mazinger. Because he was like, I used to watch all these robot anime back in the 70s and stuff.
I did notice there was... I remember they kind of mentioned something like that. So
I was like, I get that reference.
This is it as well. I think this is definitely the episode that had the kaiju that actually looked like Zeron. That's just my opinion. It's like, to me, like, the ones, like where the Americans appeared, it just kind of felt unrealistic to me as well. Like, like because when they have like the Gaijin, the America-jin appear, it's always kind of like a source of genuine entertainment for the Japanese. I mean,
they're like, oh,
when you're looking at Aberanger or Shinken Brown. I mean, I like to think sometimes they do kind of take the foreign Gaijin sort of Englishman a little bit more seriously lately. But I have no idea what was going on in this episode 3. I mean, like the acting could have at least tried. I mean, this is it. Like the acting could have tried to have been convincing. So like, I mean, there's this kaiju coming ridiculously close, but just every time that Seven Guy thing lands a punch, they just start cheering. It's like, why? Like, you could still be in potential danger. But still.
I think I don't know. Like, sometimes the perspective they have is, like...
a bit twisted,
it's not as close. Yeah, it's like... I'm friends with the director who directed this, but, like, I don't know the writer, because he passed away, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Yuya Takahashi, I think. Or... I think that was his name, I don't know for sure, but he actually died earlier this year of an aneurysm, and that's why I think, there might be, in the future, hopefully he wrote out the whole show, but, he did die, and with that being said, they might have to bring in another writer, and then that might change the show for better or for worse.
That might be interesting, because, like, you do hear about sometimes they change writer mid-series in Tokusatsu. It's quite interesting to find out if they do. So, like, moving on to episode 4, like, this episode had amazingly great CGI. This is one where it's like a kind of worm-looking type monster, but it's not like, even though it's... I mean, this is like, I genuinely can't tell if it's a suit or if it's CGI, but there seems like when you see the eyes animated and when it spits the fire, the level of CGI is where I can agree. This specific episode, I can agree with you on the level of CGI. And on one hand, there was like a few good dialogue scenes, but on the other, I'm not sure what Haruki having his pudding base had to do with anything. I mean, again, like we kind of get this kind of logic of how Yuka comes up with the way of charging Wyndham much faster, which again we're introduced to this second robot after the American Jin fund the robot. But still, I'm not I'm not too...
Oh, they're like, we're gonna help you fund this robot.
Like, like I think it had something to do with, she like she kept keeping all the parts of the kaiju, and then she used one part of one kaiju to make Wyndham charge faster. Which, considering they were like, this is going to take days to charge, and then she finds this monster part, and then it apparently charges straight away, and now all the time we see Wyndham appear straight away. It's no charge time, not even a couple of days, it's whenever they want. So, there are always a few continuity and plot holes, but, I'll say I almost like, like I touched on this earlier, like I almost like the vagueness of this villain that we have, this psycho villain that we have, and still, but they could have established still a little bit of a story, which is normally a bit of my preference. I mean, I don't know how they can claim that. I mean, the thing I'll get about Wyndham is you hear in the episode that Wyndham's gonna have more of a human-esque form, but it's clearly the form of a human. It's clearly human neck down, but then it's a bird. And even then, the arms flap around like a bird. That's just my opinion. Anything to add?
Oh, yeah. So, no.
Fair enough. Let's rush roll on episode 5 then. On one hand, I did like this episode, but on the other, I'm still finding it very vague with no potential for explanation or anything that they might be able to explain in the future. As we've got this senpai, like, again, Captain Juggler, or whatever his real name's supposed to be. Like, this is where we see him in that sort of juggler form. But still, like, I don't
think he's a villain in this.
He clones the Z Riser, and still, like, no established motive of why he's doing it, and then he's got the monster medals, but then he's also helping out, but then he's supposed to be a good guy, but then what was he doing in this beginning? Why is he cloned the Z Riser? It makes no real sense. I mean, the CGI still continues to be fairly good, like with the ice and fire battles. And again, no real logic to the kaiju either. I'm just finding, like I'm almost finding that this, like even the ultra power, and they introduce. I think this is the episode that they introduce a spear thing, which isn't too, like
really
common in ultra.
It didn't
They'll
really
have like the attachments on the arms and stuff, and but he's got a genuine spear that is genuinely stabbing the kaiju with. And it's got a rollerball on it as well.
We don't really see it anymore after this episode. It kind of disappeared.
No, I'll disagree. No, we do see that spear thing a couple of times, but then they kind of introduce this lore that kind of doesn't quite make sense. And because it's not supposed to be, is this a treasure hunting thing? Is this a space thing? Is this a tech thing? They seem to be like really. They're not even making sense of it. They're just like, what do we feel like talking about today? All right, let's talk about space treasure. Let's talk about tech. Let's talk about ancient technology. They just can't focus on one thing, which is both a good and a bad thing. Like, I mean, it becomes less boring, but then it becomes a bit inconsistent. That's just my opinion, as I keep saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they might not have the continuous pacing. Pacing kind of seems like an issue for this thing, and I think that's there's because as we talk later on, I did feel like things were getting a little bit slow, but we'll talk about it when we get around episode 8, you know what I mean?
Okay, so moving on to episode 7, I actually did enjoy this episode, even though I fairly felt everything happened here. At least I finally got a level of story development that I'm happy with, but still finding it...
Are we going to talk about Ultraman Z appearing?
I think that was in episode 8. Let me see. I will get to, if it's in this, I'll get to those days. Okay. I'll still say I'm still finding it both alluring how Yoko is around both Ultraman and older men. But it does include the somewhat basic and decent fighting choreography that we've got going on in this episode. I do like that the villain is becoming more powerful in subtle ways from here, and the emergence of Zero was good too. So we do get to see Zero, and so this is the episode that you see him because I think this is the one that he emerges from this space dimension he was fighting in. Yeah,
and how he had to use the Twilight power, which I don't remember seeing at all. It might have been in Ultraman or G or something near the end, but I did not finish G.
But it's the kind of thing, 13. I mean, bearing in mind that I have no sense of continuity between series, someone who's watching it for the first time, it's just I don't get half this stuff. It's because it's so, I mean, again, it's the 10th anniversary of Zero. I think it's around this time that they mention it's the 10th anniversary of Zero, whereas, you look at the YouTube channel, you see Zero appear, but it's who's he then? If you have no idea. Obviously, if you're a massive Ultraman fan, you're going to know everything from the off. Unfortunately, even though I know everything about Kamen Rider and most things about Sentai, when it comes to Ultraman, for me, it's one ear and out the other, personally. Anything you want to add about episode 7?
I feel like this was a pretty decent episode to reintroduce Ultraman Z again. And I like how, but basically, as we see in episode 8, he does kind of disappear after.
Well, they all do, because I think this is the one. I think this is the one where they're "Oh, I'm gonna stay on Earth and find devil splinters." No, it's all right.
On this Earth, because they're different Earths.
Yeah. I mean, I worked that one out, to be fair. But again, I think every Toku's doing that now. Every superhero show is doing alt dimensions now. It's can we have one superhero show that's only in one dimension? I don't think so.
Yeah,
so moving on to episode 8. So episode 8, for me this was a mix of an interesting plot development, pure fan service. So we do get to see a lot of Yoko and Yuka in this episode. And this is
I think this is directed by Koichi Sakamoto.
I don't know, is this a fan service guy? But still, we got 2 alternative female aliens as well. And there's so much going on in this episode aside from being fan service, because I thought Yoko was hot before, And then we just see her in this kick-ass intro where she's just kicking everyone's ass, basically.
And
I
like how they're training them to fight and stuff.
There's that. Episode. I mean, like I can give that credit, but I'm like, do you have to do it in such a sort of fan service kind of way? And then it's like, when it comes to Yuka, they seem, like she's obviously the brains of the outfit, but in this particular episode, they seem to have made her like this sort of kawaii, cute character, where she's fighting with the other, where she's then fighting with the other cute alien thing. And so, like, I'll still say, we do get more insight to the character that was possessed. I mean, I don't think we've been given a name as such. But then episode 8 is the first use of Gamma Future, which, again, the captain who has this alternative form seems to be more connected to the Zero series, i.e. Juggler. I'll say that I'm liking that Sevenga and Wingdom are fighting together rather than... because I think there was kind of like a thing where they were like, oh, Sevenga's no longer useful. And then I think there was like in episode 6 or 7, we do kind of see Wingdom struggling and then Sevenga comes to the rescue. So it's good to see that they're both fighting together kind of thing. So they're not leaving the old tech behind. The development with these rocks seems interesting because we get this rich guy who's like spent lots of money on rocks. And
they're like monster DNA basically.
Again, they kind of look like really weird vaginas. I'm not gonna lie to you on that one. But still, like Haruki. But then there are these like plot holes, like like all four of the hot girls are fighting amongst each other. And then, like, Haruki just kind of grabs his Z-Riser while they're fighting. Like, surely one of them must have noticed that he was going to grab it, but he didn't even look to check if they were looking. He just grabs his Z-Riser and runs off, which, could have been easily spotted.
Yeah, I think, and I also like how he goes into human form as well in this episode when he tried to go save them. Because we haven't seen that in Ultraman in a long time. I don't think we have seen that since Ultra 7, I think. Or maybe even... I don't know for sure. Because I don't think Ultraman could go into human form.
Where I most recently remember Rube... because you remember that Rube was like two brothers becoming one kind of thing. Almost like Kamen Rider Double. But then I'll say that, because I think Ultra 7X had it like that as well, though. But then, I do remember bits about Orb and Jeed, and obviously when you're looking at Zet, it's like, Ultraman's a different entity to the human hero.
Yeah, I believe that they're trying to, get as, I think they're trying to make sure that he has these form because it does look like this Ultraman was assigned to Haruki, which is why they have his name inside of the device,
Indeed, because they have these access cards, don't they? Because they mix in access cards with medals, which is a lot to ask for in terms of merch.
A lot of toys. And
I'll talk about the merch for the end of this episode because it'll be like a couple of minutes just to add on to things. But let's talk about episode 9, the one that aired last week. So episode 9, I felt that this was a major filler episode and that actually had so much potential with the stuff, because we got this King Joe thing, that kind of thing going on. It just ended up being highly predictable, the whole, this was just a fake, the real ones with Yoko kind of thing. That's so predictable, that's so done before. And even Ultraman grabbing the box going towards King Joe, that's done before. I mean, even when it comes to King Joe, I'm just what? I mean, unless it's connected in Ultraman lore, I'm just what is this retro, outdated looking thing that's kicking everyone's butt?
I think there's they should have had it where the aliens or something other aliens of Ultraman.
Possibly, I agree with you on that one because again, I just
maybe they could. They can't use Zeton because I don't think they've been using that recently. But
But the one thing that I'm not too happy about, bearing in mind Mebius is on my to watch list because I've heard so many people praise it. But in this episode, we get 3 new medals that aren't a new form. they are just an attack. I think it's called the grenade attack or something.
Mm-hmm.
And but the one thing that we do, the one thing I've noticed from episode 1 is that you look at Haruki's pouch belt clip thing, and
there's like 6.
It only has room for 18 medals. And bearing in mind, Ultraman's been here since the 60s. I don't know if this medal system's been used in the previous series.
Nope, this is the first time.
Well, this is it, because like the way that they keep making these references to Zero, and that Zero is Zet's senpai
teacher,
yeah.
Teacher.
It's like so is there a connection in their devices, or the medals or whatever gimmick system they're using? But we've got these 3 medals of series that people were raving about 10 years, like 15 years ago, and now let's just make it a grenade attack. It just kind of felt a bit garbage in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there might be a form that comes in later,
Possibly, but I very doubt it. I doubt it very much, in my opinion.
But we forgot to talk about the Ultraman Tiga, Dyna, and Gaia form that
which one was? Well, I mean, I already mentioned because we had Brave Smash and Gamma Future. Was it one of those?
Yeah, I think Gamma Future.
I did mention. I only skimmed it briefly, but again, like to me, being someone who's not that well versed, I can't. I know I've heard the name. Ultraman being part of Brave Smash or Brave Smash. Beta Smash, sorry. Like, where but then he's the one that the series is named after, even though the first one was called Ultra Q. Just spouting Wikipedia nonsense right now.
Well, they needed
but for me, when it comes to the 3 in Gamma Future, I mean, because, I think in Alpha Edge we've got... I can't remember anything. I know Beta Smash had Taro in it, and I think Alpha Edge had Leo in it. And again, these names virtually nothing. I think Gamma Future...
It had Leo, Seven, and Ultraman. And then...
Ultraman's definitely in Beta, but who's in Gamma Future?
Ginga, Dyna,
Gaia... No, hold on, right. So, I know specifically that this grenade attack that they did in episode 9 has Nexus, Mebius, and
Matt. No.
There's one more. It's definitely Nexus and Mebius. But
Agil?
I know. Right.
Or Cosmos. Cosmos.
So I should probably make a list of who's in what. But still, I would say, again, I mentioned this before. I mentioned this at the beginning when it comes to the sizing of the robots. We see this scene when they come through the tunnel, that Sevengar and King Joe fall onto the road, but they seem really small compared to how they're fighting amongst the mountains, and yet they fall and roll off, and the car's still managing to drive through and drive past, which is what the hell? That's just...
Yeah, there is some in perspective when they were rolling down. I was like, are those models or something? Because it does.
I don't know. It was very inconsistent, just in general, the sizing and this. Considering Ultraman tends to say, "Oh, this kaiju is 10 meters high." They're very inconsistent in how they...
40 meters.
So let's end this episode just quickly. So I'm coming back to this point on the match. So when it comes to the match, they have advertised in between scenes saying that the SH figure arts of Ultraman Z is being released in December, and yet its price marks 3,500 yen, which is very low. And anyone who's watched my Toku unboxing will hear me always talking about prices in yen, so I know how much things are worth. I mean, normally when they release a new figure, it's normally around the 5,000 yen mark. So for Z to be, and bearing in mind this is the 10th anniversary of Zero, and and even though the commercial's supposed to make the figure look great, I could see straight off, and I'm becoming a bit of a figure arts expert now. I'm looking at the advert and I'm like, the detail looks like they've mashed up the plastic mould.
Yeah, there's also.
To be fair, I'm not gonna do this on my unboxing channel, on my unboxing review show. But I could see it looks a bit poor quality. It's priced quite low. I mean, alright, we've had COVID going on. I mean, the fact is, there was an episode just to kind of cut back to talking about episodes, there was like this really bizarre comedy skit that they did where I think it was the same as the American episode, that Haruki's got like the cold or a flu.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of amusing considering we've got COVID going on, but at least kind of, we kind of get to see that, there's so much not going on. But coming back to merch, on the other hand, it's like, it just seems to be so abstract as well. And, like there's a mixture of cards and medals. And that's just going to really make everyone go nuts.
Yeah, but the thing is, Ultraman, I think X was also like that. They were using the Genghis, like the dolls, and then they were using cards as well to use the Ultraman X and stuff. And then during G, they did stop doing that. I forgot what they used for G. I forgot. Like I don't remember them using anything for G or Orb. I think they used for Orb. I think they used cards and stuff. But I haven't watched Ultraman in a long ass time. This is the first time I've actually seen started watching Ultraman fully.
Yeah, same, admittedly, and it's not in a working for fan subs method. So I'm actually getting to enjoy it, and then I do write my opinions after watching each one, which it's kind of my way of being able to keep track of everything that I've seen, just to forget it afterwards. Anyway. Well, thank you everyone for watching. This has been our first Ultraman talk. So even though we've kind of like got two novices here, do let us all know what you think. So comment, follow, like, and subscribe to us on all our channels. Unfortunately, I haven't got my ticker taper behind me, but you can find Toku Bros. No, don't even bother trying to do anything. But you can catch the Toku Bros channel on Facebook, Twitter,
Instagram.
And we've got my boy Dragon Zeron over there, who's on Facebook,
Twitter. Oh no, not Twitter.
You're not on
Facebook,
Twitter.
Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram, and his Patreon, and then you got my
and YouTube.
And his own YouTube channel. I myself, RyuKiva Toku, RyuKiva from RyuKiva Toku. I have my YouTube channel. I have my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My Patreon as well, which is an absolute mess. So no one.
And I'm working on my Patreon.
But I will say the next thing I should probably work on is my WordPress website, ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. So do join us next time. I think next week we're taking a bit of sabbatical, so I'll probably upload a series review.
I might try to catch up a little bit on the Kamen Rider and stuff.
No, you're not. But maybe I'm thinking most likely the week after that we'll
the
Winter Cosplayer and I will be talking about Kamen Rider 01 in full. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you again next time, and fish through the cam. Ciao.